On a bitterly cold morning in December of 1968, members of the Akwesasne Nation fought back against Canadian treaty violations by blocking an international border crossing that passed through their land. Today, on Native People Making a Difference, we examine the direct action event that set the stage for hundreds of future Indigenous uprisings, the 1968 Akwesasne border blockade.
See you guys in Disneyland.
The Mohawk village of Akwesasne was officially founded in 1755 as a Catholic mission. It's located on the St. Lawrence River about 70 miles southwest of Montreal. Although the church called the settlement the St. Regis Catholic Mission, the 30 Mohawk families who originally moved there knew it as Akwesasne, or Where the Partridge Drums. When the Revolutionary War ended in 1783, the border between the U.S. and Canada in that area was set at the 45th parallel, effectively splitting the village of Akwesasne into two parts. The northern part was eventually recognized by the Canadian government as the Akwesasne Mohawk Reserve, and the southern part was recognized by the U.S. government as the St. Regis Mohawk Reservation. However, the native people from both sides considered themselves as simply Akwesasne Roanan, the people of Akwesasne. In 1794, the Treaty of Amity, Commerce, and Navigation between Great Britain and the United States, also known as the Jay Treaty, facilitated trade between Canada and the U.S. Article 3 specified, quote, "It is agreed that it shall at all times be free to His Majesty's subjects and to the citizens of the United States, and also to the Indians dwelling on either side of the said boundary line, freely to pass and repass," unquote. And also, quote, "No duty of entry shall ever be levied by either party on peltries brought by land or inland navigation into the said territories respectively, nor shall the Indians passing or repassing with their own proper goods and effects of whatever nature pay for the same any impost or duty whatever," unquote. This understanding was maintained until the mid-20th century, when the Canadian government cracked down on border security. The Akwesasne Roanan, who lived and worked on both sides of the border, suddenly became subject to inspection when crossing from the U.S. side of their community to the Canadian side, and a customs tax was levied on any goods they bought on the U.S. side. They often sat in long lines waiting to clear customs after returning from work or shopping. Additionally, Canadian customs officials often delayed and harassed the Akwesasne Roanan, searching their cars and demanding documents from them.
Detained for what? Customs search. For who?
It was in this atmosphere of governmental harassment that the Akwesasne Roanan finally pushed back and asserted their sovereign rights by blocking the south channel of the Seaway International Bridge on December 18, 1968.
I'm asking you fellas to get off the roadway. You're blocking the road between two countries, and this we can't allow.
And you won't listen to our reasoning, yeah?
Well, I listen to your reason, but what can I do? This is the law. You can't block the road.
The law states
I know.
U.S. peace officers have to enforce this. Now, you're on Indian land, under the Section 31 of the Indian Act, specifically to a peace officer.
What about
Any
the code
trespass?
for blocking the road?
This is part of the reserve, no?
Then
there was
Well, I don't understand.
Until they can prove it different. Tell us we're not on Indian land. Then you can come in and arrest who you want. But up until that time...
No, anybody interfering with us will have to arrest us. This is, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm afraid you're going to have a lot of people to arrest.
I suppose.
Mike Mitchell, a member of the National Film Board of Canada's Indian Film Crew, was sent to Akwesasne to record the conflict for a documentary. But as a member of the Akwesasne tribe himself, he was drawn into the fight, becoming an unofficial spokesperson for his people. His 37-minute cinema verite documentary, You Are on Indian Land, remains a fascinating record of the blockade. It marked the first time a Native resistance event was captured on film.
Sorry, folks, we're claiming this land back to the Indians. That's the way it should be.
This is Indian land.
In the longhouse tradition of the Akwesasne, chiefs were chosen by the clan mothers. These mothers knew the men best suited to be chiefs because they had raised them and had instilled the tribe's values within them. In essence, the chiefs were their spokesmen.
We're placing you under arrest.
So when the first arrest was made at 9:35 of a mother, identified in the film only as Cheryl, the anger of the group erupted.
What's the time, Mike?
9:20 or 9:35.
Who is she?
Cheryl.
The police tried to dismantle the blockade by pushing cars out of the way and bringing in tow trucks to impound them. But before long, they were overwhelmed by a force they'd never before encountered. The police were totally unprepared. They had never seen anything like it. It was a swarm of native grandmas. These were mothers who had had their children forcibly removed and sent to residential schools. They were the mothers of river people whose traditional fishing areas were destroyed by construction of the St. Lawrence Seaway and the Moses Saunders Power Dam. They were mothers whose water was poisoned by toxic waste from an Alcoa plant and a GM plant just across the river from their homes. They had planned the blockade for weeks, meeting at the home of Ernie Benedict. Finally, they went to Ottawa and attempted to see Prime Minister Trudeau. They announced that if an agreement was not made protecting their rights under the Jay Treaty, they would block the Seaway International Bridge that passed through their sovereign land. Trudeau would not see them. They were told to take their concerns to the tribe's government-backed Band Council. But the Band Council was widely recognized as a puppet of the Canadian government and simply referred them back to Ottawa. In frustration, the group held a public meeting in which they announced their intention to block the bridge and also issued a statement explaining their reasons. The next day, they put their plan in action. They timed the blockade to happen when their husbands were at work. Many were from hard-working ironworker families who for generations had helped build the skyscrapers of Manhattan. They were tough people. The police had underestimated their tenacity.
The officers have asked us now to call off the demonstration. We want to leave it to you to decide. Now, how do you feel about this? Shall this continue longer?
We gotta stay here till they take the last Indian. Until there's not one other Indian left. The whole world is looking at us right here and now. Are we going to give up? No. Or are we going to fight until there's not one Indian left here? Yes.
Finally, federal troops of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police arrived to reinforce the Cornwall Police and the Ontario Provincial Police, who were already present. Children from the tribe, confident in the power of their people, felt safe enough to taunt them.
Turn around and get out of here. Go back to Cornwall.
They want your point.
We shall overcome. He had a knife. It's the small window.
Give my hand there.
Lock her up.
Ona gionistena am hetkanne. Ona gigana karihton ladikstero. Ja ona ja tedas hotsterista. Näitä hadili tanjo, tuoni asako digale vahteena ungwe. Ona vai tinaton hasse. Sinne nakan gjokka. Soni hodili hoda. Tano jahuni ton tahadit sanis. Nena ja tahadilege. I am worried that as tempers become short, there may be bodily harm to somebody. Somebody may get hurt, and I do not want any of my people to be hurt. So, I am asking that this group will meet together at the recreation hall, the community hall on Cornwall Island, to decide what more should be done.
The Canadian government never did give in to the tribe's demands. They said the Jay Treaty was between Great Britain and the United States and had never been ratified by Canada. To this day, the Mohawk people living along the St. Lawrence River still face Canadian harassment. However, the blockade was not a failure. The leaders who rose up during the conflict went on to participate in other Native resistance actions, such as the 1969 Alcatraz takeover in San Francisco and the 1970 Fort Lawton takeover in Seattle. In particular, the 1990 Mohawk resistance at Kanasatake, a 78-day standoff, also known as the Oka Crisis, was fought by members of the Mohawk Warrior Society, many of whom were present at the Akwesasne border blockade. The fighting spirit demonstrated at the blockade inspired many Native people and can still be felt today, perhaps most notably at the 2016 standoff at Standing Rock. Their example of standing up and fighting back helped all Native people everywhere.